Welcome, greetings, salutations, hello, good day, how your mom and them, and all of that good stuff. Welcome once again to what we like to call the Far Reaches Podcast. This is your semi-host, Micah, joined tonight by the full Reachers gang of Rawley, Richard, and our good friend, Mr. Joel. We've been a couple days delayed. We've all had different schedules and things going on in life, but we're doing our best to keep up and bring you all this material that you clamor for every week. So we thank you for joining us once again. As a reminder, we are on a regular podcast, wherever you find your podcast at, Spotify or Apple or Google or something we haven't even heard about yet. And then, of course, we are also available for all your viewing pleasure. You want to see this magic unfold as it happens on the YouTube. And so go join us there as well. Like, share, hit the little button so you know what's going on. But here we are in our respective places. Rawls is joining us in God's country outside tonight, being kind of a dick and rubbing it in. And I can't say that I blame him, but we will get this fire started as soon as I can get my damn iPad to run like it should be. So let's kick off with weekly updates. Rawls, you look like you're like pontificating already. So let's jump to your part of the world and give us a little insight of the past week or so.
Hey.
Says a man who's been haying. Yeah.
Yeah, just finally got some good weather. I say good, but it hasn't been really warm enough for curing hay. But we're supposed to start warming up tomorrow, and it just has been a little difficult to get stuff to dry yet. So 60 degrees, 65 degrees.
Damn.
And then I think it was 36 this morning, but
Instead of waiting for it to dry out, you wait for it to unfreeze.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's freeze-dried hay.
Yeah. No, but that's pretty normal up here. Typically, we're warmer now during the day, but I think we've got mid-70s and up into the 80s after tomorrow. So that'll help.
Your high tomorrow is about my low right now, and I'm still in Nebraska. Yeah, so it's going to be like 70 something tonight for the bone.
Yeah, I think we're 75 tomorrow, and then 78 or 9 the next day, and then possibly 80 up into 80s by Saturday. So
good, but awesome.
That's stock tank swimming weather out there, probably, isn't it?
Yeah. I tell you what, even today it almost hit 70, and it felt hot though. Like it.
Well, yeah. That's a 40-degree swing in one day from the morning. That's substantial.
Yeah.
Been doing some quick memory or carrying. Yeah. So
that's kind of what's been.
Awesome.
Nothing major.
Hopefully it's running smooth and nothing's really blown up yet. So that's good.
Yeah. Murphy's Law, it'll happen.
Oh yeah, I said it out loud. I know I'm a dick. Yeah, so
yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's always haying season, you know, you feel like shredded wheat or stir-fried shit half the time, but it's kind of satisfying too when you can get back. The field's all cut and hauled off and water's going back on, and it's a good rinse, lather, repeat. It's a good feeling.
Yeah, we've got about 3 different varieties of hay that we're doing right now, and we've got alfalfa, grass alfalfa, and then a bunch of grass hay. And so your timing's a little different on all of them, but we've got the window to lay it all down now. We've only got about 2 more days of cutting, and then everything will be on the ground. But
good.
On the other end, there was a potential. In fact, I called Mike earlier, told him at first, as I was assessing the hay, that I might not make it tonight, and it's looking good. And then after a couple more checks and being on the phone with him, we'll call it off till tomorrow night because we'll be a lot better shape then. So as far as baling it and getting it up, but we're just trying to get the transition, get from the alfalfa field so I can get water back on it pretty quick, and then hopefully in about 10 days we'll be done. So
outstanding. Yeah.
That's
going like hell. Like them. There's a reason why they call it, you got to make hay when the sun shines, because it's truly hammer down, and timing is really important to all the success. So I appreciate you making it tonight. And we'll just keep working around everybody's schedule as much as we can because eventually we all have day jobs. So, yeah, we'll just do our best. So thanks, everybody. Awesome. Richard, what's happening?
I'll never have a day job.
No. You're more of a night kind of. Never mind. Yeah. So.
Let me see. Oh, I'm a little worried. I want to call out something that I'm seeing on the podcast right now. I think Joel has a side gig with the city of Pendleton.
He's got a hat stand downtown.
Wearing a separate Pendleton hat every
This
time.
is a. Can you see what that says?
2018 contestant.
Holy,
Yeah, that's right.
doing some trading at the bar. Doing that in an Indian leg wrestling contest?
Yeah.
Native American leg wrestling.
No, it's Indian. Yeah. Yeah. It'll clear a bar pretty quick too. Yeah. Yeah. Every week, like we could have a what's Joel wearing this week? It'd be good.
I think he's got a side gig. Anyways,
He's an enterprising individual.
I worked for the city of Pendleton for 3 weeks once, and I only worked from 3 weeks. I don't recommend it.
It was like son-in-law. Yeah, I majored in life saving for 3 semesters. Oh. All right, go ahead, Richard.
let me see. It was a good week. Got a lot done. I finished all but 15 hours of my real estate exam. So
All but 15, is that what you said?
Well,
Nice.
Oregon's weird because they like to strip you of all your cash to become a real estate agent. So,
Oh, you're hungry when you're hitting the ground. Yeah.
I am still a Nevada resident, so I need to switch to Oregon. Of course,
Yeah.
that's impossible with COVID. So I can't take the last 15 hours of the test because if I do it before paying the state of Oregon the $300 to take my test and then spend another $150 to get the test, I have to pay before I finish the last 15 hours. And if I finish the last 15 hours before paying, it resets my entire it's supposed to be 150 hours. It has to be 180 hours. So it puts you back to zero. So I'm trying to desperately get my license done. So I get my driver's license switched over, and then I'll be good. Then we're shuffling cows around on the desert. Water's finally, it was a pretty good wet year, but man, I think it's going to get dry really fast.
Mhm.
So we're shuffling cows around and did my first 3 o'clock big cattle drive. So and failed. Got about a half mile from the trailer. My horse kicked the shoe. So I got back that night, which worked out a lot better. But but got to get in that practice of those early rises. So that's
You got to make your old man proud, Yeah. Oh, awesome. Okay, Joel. So besides getting another hat, what's your highlights for the past week?
I had a pretty normal week working. We had the 4th of July since last time we talked, so
Yeah.
we did that thing: barbecue, fireworks.
Marketing.
Yeah, I went golfing on Sunday. That was a highlight.
golfing
Shot
a
a
lot.
45 on the back 9. Tied Brian on the back 9. So I'm getting better.
Not bad. Yeah.
Watch that, and we're going to get to it. I'm anxious to get to it with the movie. I'm glad we delayed this a little bit. I'm glad I got a chance to watch it. Loved it.
Awesome. Glad to hear. Yeah. I will make my update brief then so we can jump right in. So, again, 4th of July, Independence Day was since we last spoke. I had lucky to have some great friends come down from southern Minnesota. I used to work with Rich. He was one of my salesmen. We got to be good friends and stayed in touch over the years. And so they came down, him and his wife, for a 4th of July / going away kind of shindig for me. So we hung out and told stories and barbecued and just had a grand old time. And then for like the past 30 years, Rich has done the fireworks where they're from. And this year they'd called them off due to all the craptacular chaos we're dealing with. And so he was kind of like a little bit bummed. And I'm like, dude, like I told you, man, this neighborhood comes unhinged. So you're going to enjoy it. And sure as shit, they did not disappoint. And so we wandered around the neighborhood, and he was getting light fireworks and the whole place blowing shit up. And he was like, damn, he's kind of reignited my faith in humanity. So it was, good for them to get down. It was great to see him hang out. And so that was one of the high points for sure. Was just some of that. And then, the neighborhood just coming unhinged for 2 nights and probably spending close to $1 million in personal fireworks, because it's quite the show. So really fun. And then been packing, basically camping in my house right now. Almost everything's packed in the garage. So I'm in yet a different location and within my home for this one, because everything else has kind of been cleared out and doors shut and moved on. So, but with that all said, we will jump into our movie of the week. And I had picked the 1971 Paul Newman directed classic based on the Ken Kesey book called Sometimes a Great Notion. And I don't remember the exact time I watched this for the first time, but I was pretty young. And so it's kind of been in my mind. It really kind of speaks to me and how I picture some of my family when I was growing up, and just sort of the Northwest in general, and the cast of characters. And, it's this Logan family has made a commitment to a contract, and the local mill and everybody's on strike, and they don't want them to keep logging. And they basically tell them to pound sand. And there's a lot of family stuff going on as well, as always. But a great place. I think some of my favorite acting and just an overall theme of the movie. We'll get to the point where somebody in the movie passes, and you're sad, but at the same time, the sumbitch dies when he's laughing. And he's just that kind of guy. So I really like the movie, and I think I just like everybody else's thoughts too. They had a chance to sit down and watch it. Joel, what do you think?
Yeah, so I had a really interesting experience with this movie. Of course, I took an edible beforehand.
I did not see that coming. I got to be honest. I did not see that coming. Yeah.
And then, so it started, and I had a really hard time catching on. It took me a while to figure out that there is a guy named Henry and a guy named Hank, and it's a different person. And then Leland came and called him Lee, and then some people called him Leland. And so like 70s movies, I always do this. I always introduce so many people up front. And I can never, especially back then, they're all very homogenous. They all look the same. I have a hard time telling who is who, especially because I don't really know who Paul Newman and Henry Fonda are. I think Henry Fonda is the other guy, right?
He's the dad, yeah, the patriarch, if you will, yeah.
Yeah, and so the experience of watching that, focusing on it, and having an edible in me, like it was a good movie on the surface. Like the story I thought was really good with, like you just described. But I think the movie, after it was over, I sat on the couch and thought about it for a while. That was so much deeper. Like, yeah, especially because Ken Kesey wrote it, the book. Like, of course, it means something more, right? Because you're watching it, I couldn't figure out on the surface, is Ken Kesey saying that he supports unions or he's against them? And knowing his politics, I imagine he's against them strongly, or for them strongly, right?
Yeah.
But the movie, the heroes of the movie, were scabs, and which didn't add up with Ken Kesey's.
He was a complex character. Also, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to get into what I think, or do we want to have Richard and Rawley give their opinion on it?
Well, I think we can let them shoot a couple across the bow, and then we can dive in another lap around. What do you think?
Yeah.
Rawls, what do you think?
Well, to start with, Micah knows this already, but when you live in Wallowa County and you get an influx of tourists over the 4th of July weekend, it pretty well taps out all the internet service there is. And what your availability is very slow and stagnant. So I actually got to the part where, and I don't even know if his brother died or not, but he was caught underneath the water with a log.
That was nearly the end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't far, and I went back on the YouTube deal there to fast forward. Well, it would only let me watch the whole thing again.
Oh shit.
I forewent the opportunity and chose some sleep, given my situation. But what I saw leading up to it, it just reminded me of the good old days as far as growing up and how families worked and how issues were settled and just the PC world we live in now was clearly not something that worked back then. And they wanted it to, but just looking from the family standpoint, it was, it struck some chords with growing up in those days. So.
Yeah, real quick, I'll go ahead and tell you the rest of the movie. So Joby, is I think it's his brother-in-law. They said they were kind of giggling like he's just, I'll keep breathing for you.
He's the nephew, by the way.
That's right. Yeah, thank you, Joel. I'll keep breathing for you, and then he starts like, don't be kissing me. And so the log rolls over and the water's coming up over his head, and Paul Newman is breathing for him, and Joby starts laughing because Paul Newman's kissing him, and so he starts laughing and he won't stop and he drowns.
Okay.
And that's how he dies, because he's just that goofy guy. And he'd rather just be himself and laughing and die. And so that, that's where that goes. And then I don't know if you saw that Widowmaker tree hit the old man too.
Right.
So he loses his arm. And so at the very end, they decide they're gonna get a tug and they're gonna haul their logs down the river themselves to the mill. And he runs up to the house in the little boat and goes in the freezer and gets the old man's arm that had the middle finger sticking up, and he ties it on the mast at the top of the tugboat, and that's how they haul ass down the river, dragging their logs and telling everybody, one last fuck you from the old man.
He's talking about the arm type.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting, but it's a sad part when Joby dies, but the little bastard goes like he wanted, I think. So had to get you the full experience. So. Richard,
I've got dived back into the book. I was right probably halfway through it or put it down. So now it was enough to get me back in the book, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
But I did read something interesting, and I did hear an interesting theory. So I gotta let my wife in.
That's right. Right in the middle. Oh, I gotta let my wife in. Yeah, so she'll throw it.
I'm wondering if he has a theory. So I have a theory.
Oh, good. Let's hear yours, and we can.
Well, no, I want Richard there for it. I'm hoping his isn't the same as mine.
The door is locked to keep the child in.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Not to wow. But
Okay.
the interesting thing, so the town's name is a fictional town. It's Wakanda.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting enough, that's where the Black Panther's from.
That's what?
That's where the Black Panther's from.
Yeah. I thought that was the same name. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got thinking there must be a connection between Kinsey and the author of the Black Panther. So
was there?
Anyway, I think there's a lot of I think there's an interesting nod there because they're both fictional.
Mm-hmm.
And but if you think about it, about the same time the book came out, the comic did too. Late 60s.
I'd not gone that deep on that. Interesting.
Yeah. So but I heard a really cool thing. This is sort of off the subject, but it sort of ties back into sometimes a great notion. Black Panther was actually about Martin Luther King versus Malcolm X.
Where's the child?
He's out on the back.
Oh, interesting.
So, anyways.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, my wife didn't find the kid right away, so she was panicked.
You had to think for a second too, didn't you? Yeah.
So the guy that plays the Black Panther represents Martin Luther King, and the guy that plays the one that has the tiger man, bad guy, he represents Malcolm X. That shows when he has power versus when.
I'll be damned.
Anyways,
Sorry about that.
I was just thinking it was an interesting parallel because this book also did that sort of juxtaposition. Is that they sort of said the side of the Union, two vastly different philosophical points about the how the world is run.
The same thing.
So, yeah, and in the end, they both sort of come to that same. They sort of both meld together. So.
He's in a pile of red ants up there.
Is he enjoying himself? Okay.
All right, Joel, you had a theory. What was your in-depth analysis? I'm curious.
All right, so here we go. So, I mean, in my life, in college, I took one summer course in literature. We read The Sun Also Rises, and then we kind of delved into the symbolic meaning behind that. That's the only experience I have in it. So it was weird when I watched it. I thought it was really good, like the portrayal that, that they had of, those rural Oregonian loggers. I thought they did a really good job. And they kind of present them in the movie in a good way. But so I started thinking, like, what is the meaning of this? And so here's my theory. So you have Henry, who's the old guy, right? The dad.
Yeah.
Then there's Hank, who is like a generation younger. And then the third, and his name is Hank. And then the third kid, who is another generation younger, named Leland.
Mm-hmm.
So my theory is that it's like a story. These three guys are the same guy.
Oh, just a different things in their life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Leland is the young guy with dreams and ambition and goals unrealized. Hank is the next level above, and if Leland stays on that path of the family logging business, stays on the right path, he ends up being Hank at that point in his life. And Hank has the wife Viv, who has a weird attraction to Leland, but they never really cross any boundaries. And then the old guy, Henry, who is without the wife, without Viv at this point, because he continued on that track. So he's the old guy that really is encouraging to his two sons, even maybe when they don't deserve it. He always seems to think that they're doing the right thing as they progress. And I thought that was like a micro example of capitalism as a whole, where this is really hard to explain. I was stoned at the time. I'm actually stoned again, but
it's some pretty deep shit right now. I'm digging it though.
Yeah. So Viv. So at some point, Leland talks Viv out. I think he knows that on the path that he's on, she's never going to be happy with either Hank, and it's not going to get any better when Hank turns into Henry.
Mm-hmm.
So he encourages her to leave. And that's why Henry is alone when he's old. And at some point in the movie, he actually even referred to, after his arm got cut off, he's making jokes. And he was saying, we'll even get old Viv to fry it up in the pan or something.
Yeah.
So calling her old Viv, I don't know. There's something to that.
I think he was just giving her hell, but that's really.
And then I think Joe Ben. So I think it's all like symbolic of capitalism as a whole. Like, so Leland has to stay on that track to fulfill, just to move forward. If his other option is death, he tries to kill himself.
Yeah.
And he chose not to kill himself, or he got lucky and he didn't choose to follow through with that. So the other option is just, you got to go with the flow. And that is, even though he's like, his character seems like, why is he staying there? Why is he hanging out? He could get out of there. He should get out of there. But he's just accepted his fate as being that logger.
A stamper.
Yeah. And then Joe Ben is the last character, or Joby.
Yeah.
And he's innocence. He is he's just the common man that's kind of stupid and just goes along with everything. And the log is progress and capitalism. And he literally gets rolled over and smothered and drowned by capitalism. And then I thought it was funny, and then I added on to that I think they're implying in the movie that he's like, there's something hard under my butt. And I think he looked like when he went underwater, something was sticking into the log. He's like, Joby's nailed to the log that's going to roll by. And I thought they were implying that like maybe a nail went up his ass, nailed him to the log. And I was like, he literally got fucked in the ass and rolled over by capitalism. I was just like, this is all making sense.
I mean, I agree with part of that. I think it's a great symbolism. I think he was stuck against the rock, and Paul Newman actually nailed him to the log himself. So when he floated down the river, he wouldn't get lost. Is what he.
Well, yeah, that's one interpretation. I get where he comes.
Sure.
But he kept referring to something hard under his butt.
Yeah, there was a rock or something.
And then when Paul Newman went underwater, I think he discovered that there's no way I'm going to get him out, and that's why he kind of just let him drown. But then at the end of the movie, technology is always going to win out, no matter all the townspeople are striking. They're realizing that you can't slow down capitalism and progress and technology. And now you got these two guys floating down the river, supplying all the logs while the townspeople are on the bank throwing rocks. Mm-hmm. And capitalism has a middle finger up to them, telling them to fuck off.
Yeah, because they're striking and throwing rocks at the whole thing, and like, we're gonna go do our thing. Yeah.
I don't think this is too far-fetched.
I don't think so either.
What kind of person Ken Kesey is? Yeah, he was like a very LCD guy. Yeah. Or LSD. Sorry, not LCD.
Yeah. LCD. Great vision. Yeah, good at TV. I've not remotely made that connection, but I think you're onto something for sure. Look at Richard. He's amping to say something.
No, I'm good.
Oh, wow. I think that's – I really dig the three different phases of the life. I think I viewed it a little bit differently that Leland was lost. He came home to get the direction. But that does play into what you were talking about, though, about their pathways. And, like, tried it everywhere else, and he didn't know where he fit or what he needed to do. So he came back to where he kind of knew where he was going to go. So I can see that, too. And I had not put that together until you said it, laid it out. But that's some D shit, man, and I'm all over it. Yeah. So you had edibles in high school when you're talking about literature. It made it a lot better.
In the book, they spend the first whole chapter just talking about the house. So the house plays a role as a character in the book. And it's built on the river in such a way that the bank is always eroding away at the foundation of the house, but the dampers will never give it up. And they keep reinforcing it
and building and collaborating, and
the river is supposed to either be time or capitalism or whatever you want to, how you interpret it. It's always eating away at this sort of their home, the place where the values are.
Yeah, or it's always moving forward, and you can't stop it. Mm-hmm. You can't stop progress. Try and strike and try to stop it that way, and you can replace your foundation to slow it down.
You know, they're not.
It's going to happen anyway.
Yeah. So, whatever their stance was, that river was always against them, but they kept hanging on, even though sometimes it doesn't make sense.
Never give an inch.
Never give an inch. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Damn, Joel, that's a hell of a theorem. I think I have to do some more research and see if that's where he was going, because it all does stack up pretty well. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I tried to look it up to see if I was onto something. There's just not really any information out there. I couldn't find anything. Like, the only thing I found was on Goodreads.com. People were reviewing the book, but nobody got into that sort of thing. But they were mostly just talking about the book, which now I want to read. But I thought that I saw a few reviews that were saying what I was saying, that line up with what I'm saying, that these are the same guy. Because people were saying what they're most impressed about with Ken Kesey's writing is how he can present the 3 points of view all written in the first person in one paragraph, and you're not confused by who's talking. So why else would you do that? Why would you put Leland, Henry, and Hank all talking in one paragraph in the first person like that? I feel like that adds up with my theory.
Wow. And we inadvertently had the intellectual moment of the week already. Yeah.
I think I have a new profession. I'm going to go into
say it maybe not so much represents the. I think it does sort of represent what Joel's saying, but I think the relationship between the father, Hank, and Leland are different because I think it's the Holy Trinity. So there's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Henry and Hank are definitely Father, Son. Leland's the Holy Spirit. He's the one that introduces mischief and randomness into the story. So he forces the moral questions and oral answers throughout the thing. And then if you look at Gina, I can't remember what the lady's name is. She's almost like Virgin Mary because she never really is sexualized in the entire book or the show. I mean, very briefly, but not so much. So she sort of plays a role as a support system to all three of the men.
Mm-hmm. Definitely in different ways.
She loves them all because she loves the person, right?
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Anyways, incredibly deep book, and gotta love Tim Casey. That's just. I saw one review. I think it's such a formidable book that nobody likes to review it. But I am with the guy that gave the review on YouTube. It was about 10 minutes long. I think it's one of the greatest written American novels.
Mm-hmm.
I think Paul Newman did an amazing job. Such a wide spanning book that it would take like a miniseries to actually do it. But Paul Newman, in the short amount of time that he did, really captured a lot of the themes of the book and tone. And I thought he did.
It was pretty impressive in that regard. Yeah. I think there's a lot of great moments. Also, just from the movie wise, and I was talking to Rawls about it on the phone. I'm like, when you watch the movie, I want to know what you think about when Newman's walking downtown with his chainsaw, like going to the repair shop or something, and he strolls past the union office, stops, backs up, rolls in, fires it up, cuts their desk in half. Like, that was my daddy's desk. He just back out the door. I just like that. Like, I think what I'm going to do in there is just roll in there and cut that sumbitch in half. I thought that sort of summed him up.
All I was thinking in that scene is that chainsaw probably weighs a lot. How would you walk around with that? Like, we went camping and I've only operated a chainsaw twice in my life, but I was operating when we went camping, just cutting off branches. And that's a little one. And after 5 minutes of that, I need a break.
Yeah, that's where the phrase "tougher than woodpecker lips" comes from, because you're hauling that sumbitch up and down the mountain all day long and falling trees and bumping knots and whatever. Yeah, it'll shred your wheat. Right, Walls? Rawls was a hot shot when he worked for firefighting, and that's sort of the SEAL teams of the firefighting, if you will. So a lot of up and down and humping some miles. So done his time. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think we'll leave that there. We'll definitely look for some feedback from the gang out in our listener land too, because I think that's some interesting insight, and you really kind of smoked my brain, Joel. So congratulations on that. So one thing we talked about before too, I was really anxious to talk about this week, so we'll skip to it, is I'm going to count this as our intellectual moment also, is we spent almost an hour talking about alone last time, and we were talking about our 10 items. And so I thought we should jump into that so we can see what everybody thought about and just get some feedback. And I'll be curious what everybody else says when we get some more feedback on that too. But I went to the website and looked up what they get for this last. They sort of have like standard items that everybody gets to bring. And then they have these categories, and they get to bring 10 things from the list. And we kind of said we just go on our own way too, but I wanted to give some more background on this movie or the show. So participants select 10 items from the following list. We only choose up to 2 food items, and no duplicate items can be taken from the list. So I thought that was an interesting stream as well. So they have several categories. They have shelter, they have bedding, they have cooking, they have hygiene, which I'll tell you right now, I skipped that whole sumbitch. They have hunting, they have food, and then they have tools. And so there's different items in each category, if you will. And according to these things, that you get to pick 10 of these things to bring with. And so, Rawls, did you get your list?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I'm kind of disappointed with it.
Rawls is freaking running on like vapor at this moment. So I wanted to get to this too, because he's got to go pile up in a minute. He's got some long hours coming. So run us through your list, Rawls, if you don't mind.
Fish hooks and fish line. I made those 2 separate items. I didn't know, but a single bit axe, flint for fire, a knife and a stone.
Yeah.
Bow and arrow. I'm guessing those are allowed to be the same.
Yeah, that counts as one. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can be in the mountains. Can't you just find your own stone?
Yeah, technically.
Yeah.
I'm kind of partial to a sharp knife. I saw they had some sort of parachute cord or something.
Yeah.
I really like a 5/8 inch wide or 1/2 inch mule tape.
Oh yeah.
A lot stronger, and you could snare a lot more big game.
Mule
type with your moose and whatnot. If you were tied off to the right anchor, you could snare moose and whatever they had. My bedroll. Yes, and I don't know if that was something you could just, if that was given or not, but and then a Dutch oven.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
outstanding. Yeah.
That's what I put.
I thought you might bring a trap too. I had to guess that you would bring a trap. That was my thought. But
well, I looked at that, but then I thought about 100 foot of mule tape. I could certainly snare some things with that. The trap, I thought about the trap, but that's more for catching carnivores and whatnot rather than something I'd rather eat. So most cloven-footed animals don't hold in a foot trap, so I figured I'd make a snare, so stout enough to catch something.
That mule tape, that's a hell of a good idea. Yeah, I really like that.
Wait, what's mule tape? What is that?
It's designed and used for, you see it a lot with these underground power line deals they put in. They put the tube in, and then they'll blow this it's a flat woven poly, I don't know if it's poly or cotton.
I think it's poly, yeah.
But they'll blow this stuff through there, and then they tie their power lines and whatnot onto it. It's extraordinarily strong. Like you can literally, get pulled out of the mud with it if you're in a heavy rig. But it's really strong, and it can be used for a lot of different things, for shelter making. There's a lot of different stuff you could use it for. So
yeah, that's cool.
About the only other thing that I thought of was a tarp, which is probably should replace something on that list with a tarp, but those were the only things that I had in mind.
Yeah, on their official list, they have one of the options is a 12 by 12 ground cloth / tarp with grommets. Yeah, under the shelter category. So
yeah,
I really like that mule tape. I think that's a sharp idea. So
I doubt they have that on there.
They don't. I didn't see. They have, for shelter, they have that 12 by 12 tarp. They have 8mm climbing rope. You only get 10 meters of that though. You get the 550 paracord. You get 80 meters of that. And then they got 3mm cotton cord, 40 meters. But I definitely, I would.
Yeah, I didn't know how much you could take or whatnot, but I thought about baling twine too, because you could braid that together, make something heavy enough to snare an animal. So
definitely very flexible. Yeah, I agree. Joel, you got your list?
Yeah.
Cool. What you got?
Well, I also put Mule Tape on there.
Nice. Yeah.
Something I literally just learned about 3 minutes ago. Yeah. I took Rawley's pack, so that's one item.
Nice.
No, I have the regular stuff's like a tarp and a sleeping bag and a Dutch oven, like the Firestone thing, a bow and an axe and a knife, fishing pole and a tackle box. So I counted that as one.
In a tackle box, yeah.
Then what I'm gonna take. What I'm doing is I'm taking a salt lick.
Oh yeah,
a special item. Just gonna throw a salt lick out there and hope like a cow walks by.
There you go.
And then shoot it with my bow, and then a book on how to survive in the wilderness.
Good thinking.
Big one. It probably hasn't been written yet. I need a very expansive book on how to skin an animal, how to skin a cow.
One of my very favorite books when I was younger, back when I was a wee one, I found down at my grandparents' place like a 1945 or 50 Boy Scout manual when I was about 6 years old, I think.
God, do you have any friends?
That some bitch is about 2 inches thick, and I'd read it cover to cover all the time, and it basically told you everything you need to know how to survive there. I mean, I got it somewhere. I need to find it again because it's really cool, just the advertisements in it and everything that they taught you. But yeah, so I would definitely have that 1950 Boy Scout manual. It was pretty damn slick. And there was this other book we had on the shelf, I remember, called Back to Basics. And it's all about basically how to homestead. It shows you how to make a log cabin, how to tan a hide, how to raise a garden, like how to lay out a homestead with your windmill. Like if you can find this book, get it and read it. It is so cool. It's a big yellow, like weird shaped book. It's called Back to Basics. And again, that was like my favorite book to read when I was little, because it talked about everything you can think of if you're just going to go get dumped off somewhere. So that's your free book review for the week. Richard, are you in any position to give me your list?
Yep.
Awesome.
Okay. I did 80 meters of paracord. The tarp. I did the tarp, but I had to get a canvas tarp, not one of those plastic ones like they had in the show.
Yeah, good tarp. Yeah.
Smother it with fat. I know you're supposed to be eating fat, but all right. And then the multi-season sleeping bag, steel frying pan. I can't believe they have cast iron option on there.
They say one large pot, no more than 2 quarts, includes lid. I counted that as a cast iron in my book. Yeah.
Why do you think people chose like a frying pan instead of just take the Dutch oven?
I don't know.
The Dutch oven can act as a frying pan, can't it?
Yeah, I would take the Dutch oven.
I have one that, like the lid, you take the lid off and turn it over, and it's like a little skillet. But it's the lid that goes on the Dutch oven kind of thing. Yeah.
It's like 2 items for one.
Totally. And, and also that lid holds all those shitty Totino's pizzas like perfectly for non-camping use. Yeah. So.
I've never heard of shitty Totino's pizza.
You should check them out.
I'll be back.
Because it's not shitty.
All right. Thanks, Rolls.
Okay.
The furrow stick. I love those things. I don't know why you'd be out there trying to friction start a fire.
With the bow and definitely have one of those. Those are like magic.
If you only gonna make it 50 days, those things still be working. I don't think you use them up for 50 days.
Oh,
especially if you kept your fire going.
You have a good fire, you could get it roaring back again, usually the next morning, just by a little love.
Yeah. I did all the fishing tackle. I did the primitive bow, the 10-inch knife, one axe, and one shovel. Because took the shovel because it drives me crazy that none of those guys have a dugout. But I think it could be useful for lots of things. I use shovel probably at least 2 or 3 times a week.
That's true.
Not for intended purpose either.
You do. I'm sure you do expand the common use of the shovel, no doubt. Yeah.
Oh, speaking of that, funny thing, fence hole post makes it excellent. Fence hole post driver makes it excellent electric fence grounder. So that's what mine's doing right now.
You said grounder?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Hey, at least you know where it's at too. Yeah, that's handy. Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, well, I went down the list that they provide and went off of what they offer. So, under shelter, I took paracord and the tarp. I took the bivy bag, aka pretty much a bedroll. Large pot with a lid, which I assumed would be a cast iron Dutch oven type thing. Bow, gill net. I thought a gill net would be super handy, and an axe. And then I picked a pocket knife over the 10-inch knife. I thought it'd be a little more universal, maybe easier to skin something. And then one of the options they had under food was 3rd pound rice, 3rd pound sugar, 3rd pound salt. And so I took that option as one of my food items, and then the flint also to round out the list. But I think 1/3 of a pound of each is not very much of.
What are the 3 things again? Salt, sugar,
and rice. But a 3rd pound of rice is about as probably in my size of my head. So I thought each of those could be, and salt and sugar are pretty handy to have. So I thought that was interesting. You took a salt lick too, Mr. Joel. So
yeah, I guess in desperation mode, I could just lick my salt lick.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that I almost took the food too, but I was like in for a penny, in for a pound.
Well, yeah, I was real close, but I thought some comfort might be nice. So I got to thinking about this when I was going through this list. Like, can you imagine finding out you're on this show and you've got, I don't know, they probably give you a couple months to get your feces grouped. Going through this process to figure out what you want to take. You know, you probably have to submit it a week or 2 before your takeoff date so they can make sure they got everything and yada yada. But can you imagine like the stress of sitting around like, oh, this might be the difference between me making it these however many days and winning $1 million and not, you know? So I thought that was interesting. I was thinking about that when I was plowing through this list.
Right back.
Joel has to poop. So
what about all the assholes you end up asking about it? I just make it confusing.
What's that?
What about all the guys that you would end up asking, like, hey, here's my list of 10 things. What do you think I should take off of it?
Oh, sweet Lord. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the chaos? Just sending that list out to everybody, you know, like what 10 things should I take? Holy buckets. Yeah. That's going to be all over the place.
Surprisingly enough, I have a lot of that stuff in my saddlebag or within with me. Like, maybe that's why I picked the list I did, but.
I certainly used to have most of that in my toolbox in my pickup for sure. It was built so I was detained somewhere for several hours or weeks. I'd probably be okay.
The gill net thing was, I thought about that one too, but I thought, well, if you had 80 meters of paracord and enough fishing line, you should be able to make a gill net.
You could. I was planning on using that paracord though for maybe on my shelter, because I would spend a lot of time on my shelter. I think that would be, I'd throw the gill net out and maybe set a trap or 2 with some of that, and then I'd be building on my shelter, because that's really, I think, what can make or break it. Obviously, the food's important, but if you're coming back every night and you're crawling into a cold little wet, damp rat's nest versus a high-end dry place off the ground with a fire, that's going to help you sustain the long one. So
I think the one thing I learned from the show is make a proper plume for your smoke and your thing. So yeah, like more time on the shelter.
Definitely. Yeah, that would be
do it.
That and
You know,
bed.
The lady that found the barrel, why in the hell did that not become her stove? I don't. The lady that found the barrel and chose to use it as a fishing rod.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, several people got lucky and found stuff. Why did they? So a couple people, their shelters burned down, and like everybody just started open fires right inside of their shelter. I would have thought that would like inhaling that smoke in a closed quarters like that would kill you.
Well, if you get a little, like Richard was talking about, if you get an airflow and a flue, and it's called, it will make a pretty good track. Some will be in there, yeah, but it's not like you're in a smoke box. It will drought out and keep it mostly where it belongs. Yeah. So like in a teepee, you got your smoke flaps at the top. If you got them set right with the wind, it takes almost all the smoke out.
You know what's incredible about that show, though, is just made me realize just how little I know. Like, I literally don't think I knew a single thing that like Jordan did. He didn't do a single thing. And I was like, oh yeah, that's what I would do too.
Obviously, the overhand
I didn't know
the way to go there. Yeah.
Literally didn't know anything that he did.
Well, it's a unique set of skills, I think, and ones that if you haven't used before, then why would you? Why would you even know? So I think that's part of the neat thing, and just thinking about, could I do that? Or I've lived close to that several times over the summer, but it's still not the same intensity. Yeah. Sure. So
stock up on food and start. I wonder if there's like a loophole in the rules of the show. Like nothing actually says that you can't just start walking to the nearest town. So you bring a compass and food.
I don't know if there's like
and hike to Juneau or something.
Exactly. I'm building me a boat and getting my ass out of here. Yeah. Like, I don't think I'm risking the millions. Yeah.
It gets DUI and white Yellowknife.
Son of a, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm always been in, like I said, I hadn't thought about those books in a long time, but those two books I mentioned, like, I wore them out. That's all I read. And of course, when I was about, I think 11 or 12, I was camping on my own. And so it was, learning those skills the hard way. Like nothing's more inspiring, like, trying to start a fire when, it's cold and wet and snowy, get pretty creative. So
I had one of those Boy Scout books. I don't know if it was that old, but I was amazed. Like they teach you combat, like basic combat, like not to like look around the tree, but to get down on your belly and look out from underneath the tree, because that's not where people are looking. And that's like, that's a sort of a useful life skill if you're ever in a real sort of like somebody shooting at you.
Think about your Boy Scout manual. Yeah, I
definitely
pick those up.
The new manual though. Can't be teaching counter guerrilla tactics in the new manual though.
Just good old fashioned American fun back then.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm thinking about those Boy Scout books that you read. Early in Boy Scouts, isn't like a big part of that making different knots.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like recently I was reading the comments on the Bubba Wallace stories.
Oh yeah.
And it seemed like there were like not experts talking. And I was like, these guys must have been Boy Scouts. Talking like about like a different type of knot that is like, it's not a noose, it's this type of knot.
Yeah, a noose would actually slip. So that was more of a bowline with a bunch of extra wraps around it. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the people who are arguing, like, how would you know? Like, then you have the Boy Scouts on there being like, every 12-year-old in 1952 knew this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like it's a loop. So, like if you pull it and it's a noose, it's going to tighten around your hand when you pull down the garage, which is not.
Yeah, so even like the officials, the authorities, their statements were like, this is a noose. Like, no. And people are like, no, it's not. It's literally not a noose. So that was, I was just going to bring up that as Hate Hoax 1. And then did you see the story in Hermiston?
Yeah.
This fucking kid
Richard,
running for
Your video is very disturbing right now, I might say. Yeah. Just this ominous presence standing over the camera. But yeah. But yeah, that thing at Hermiston was crazy. Oh, that's much better.
What was he running for? County commissioner, I think, or something like that?
I don't recall. But yeah, some kind of.
Sent himself a racist letter.
Yeah.
Dude, every goddamn time it seems like one of these events makes national news. It is a false alarm every single time.
Yeah, I think the
Juicy sommelier and
I think the Bubba thing, I think they could have done a lot to quell that after. They could have made it a little more less ignitive, I guess, when they first talked about it. Like now, like for like Bubba's point of view, though, like he never saw it. He was in his coach.
Yeah.
And they told him what he heard. But he could have done a little bit afterwards too to really say, hey, turns out it wasn't. Appreciate everybody gathering around me. It was just tight on that. He find it a little bit, but overall,
it's a real news cycle. I mean,
kind of
it's not his fault. It's just people looking for racism and everything.
Exactly.
And
not there.
There were during that week there were like 5 or 6 different reports of like air quotes nooses found hanging in trees, and like I only went back and looked up a few of them, but they were all like one was like leftover construction site stuff.
One was like
another guy was like it was his workout. It was this black guy's workout equipment.
Yeah.
And then that just dropped out of the news cycle pretty quickly.
Yeah, all that made me scratch my head. I'm just like, if there are instances of it, all this idiocy is going to make it be, it's like crying wolf, basically, for lack of a better term, so.
And you don't have anybody, well, of course there are some people who wouldn't be appalled by that, but like the vast majority of people are going to be appalled by something like that.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. But I was sort of disappointed how quick to judgment a lot of people were like, well, it's NASCAR. Instantly.
Yeah.
Like, well, those bunch of, redneck morons. And
they spoke about it in a very like racist way itself.
Yes. I thought so.
Stupid fat Southern white people like to sport rednecks. Like,
yeah.
Of course they're, yeah. It was kind of disgusting. It was just disgusting. I canceled my New York Times subscription today.
Oh, wow.
And they make you talk to a rep. I canceled it because of a lot of the recent things that they've put out there. Mm-hmm. They're very crazy left-wing people, like the Tom Cotton op-ed. The head of their editorial section or whatever was kind of basically forced to resign, I think.
Yeah. Editorial.
So I told the representative that I had to chat with because she asked me why I was canceling. Because you guys are fucking crazy.
That's quite a statement. Yeah. I agree. It's I don't even have words, man. That's how foreign and crazy it seems to me. What they're talking about and what they're doing.
I can't help to think that NASCAR and Bubba worked together a little bit to manage that whole thing, because probably by any major corporation, that controversy, even though it went awry a little bit, was probably one of the most best managed. And the end result was that NASCAR did not become part of cancel culture. Mm-hmm. So I think that the Frenches are pretty media savvy, and that they recognized that they had an opportunity with Bubba to sort of craft their own statement as far as the race things before it came to them. So I think.
Who are you talking about? The Frenches?
They're the owners of NASCAR.
I didn't know that. There's a family owns NASCAR?
It's a incredibly complex business model, and if you ever have a chance to look into it, it's actually really brilliant for a bunch of rednecks with no teeth. So
well, that's where it started. Yeah, I mean it's quite the enterprise now.
No, I say that facetiously because that's the image of NASCAR. But
yeah,
I would say as far as business models is going, there's a lot of people out there, especially in professional athletes, that are professional sports, that are very envious of it. And everybody gets a little cut, but they get a cut what they earn. And like if they don't perform, they're out. So it's very capitalist. It's not like you have Bobby Bonilla on your contract paid him $1 million for 37 years or whatever.
Yeah, afterwards.
Isn't that how the English Premier League is too? If you don't perform, you get kicked out.
Yeah, I think it's Premier League. Yeah, you get relegated. I think is what it's called. And you go.
They should institute that with like a football.
Talk about that with
baseball. You could get rid of the Browns and you could get rid of the Mets.
The NBA and baseball for sure has been talked about in a lot of leagues. Yeah, so.
Bigger minor league teams that have a chance to work into the major. So like if the Aces really did great, they might eventually be a major league team. That'd be cool. I'd go for that. That'd be like a competition within the competition. It's sort of NASCAR. That's why they can talk about it year round.
Oh yeah. Well, they only have about 6 weeks off anyways. But yeah.
They change all the rules, so they have to go and hire new physicists to figure out how to make the car go faster. They have to do total redesigns, and that gives NASCAR fans something to talk about year round because they just like keep constant monitoring on what the garages are. Anyways, NASCAR, beyond being entertaining, is an incredibly entertaining business study if you ever have a chance to dive into it.
Well, yeah, they start with the biggest race of the year, really, like Daytona. That's the kickoff, and that's like the Super Bowl of NASCAR, if you will. So it's really intriguing.
It seems really boring to watch on TV. I've done it for minutes at a time, but I guess where is the action that fans are looking forward to on TV? Are they like mostly interested in like the pit stop?
Pit strategy for sure. The wrecks. Everybody always waits for the wrecks. That's why you watch Talladega and Daytona, Vegas. Some of the larger tracks, you're going to have a wreck. Smaller tracks, there's a lot of bumping and rubbing and smashing people around and pissing people off. Like Martinsville and Bristol, for example, like people get pissed off and run each other over. It's pretty intriguing. There's people take a gamble and like don't take fuel and think they can make it, and they freaking run out of gas after racing 499 miles and lose because they run out of gas. So there's a lot of strategy. I think it's intriguing. A lot of random teammates, like you have like an owner will own like 2 or 3 cars, so that's your teammate. But oftentimes during the race, you're working with somebody else because your car works better with that person. So the draft is really cool, and just how that whole strategy plays out. So
it sounds like a really interesting sport, especially like the point system that you build up over here. It sounds like they haven't really figured out. Maybe I'll start watching it.
They always change to keep a constant line of controversy going.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they've changed the point systems around in the past few years now. They have like stages of the race, so there's races within the race. It used to just be it's 500 laps, boys, go get them, and now they've breaking it into stages, so you get points for winning a stage. There's planned caution laps, etc. So they're constantly modifying it and making it more spectator friendly, I guess, and also intriguing for the racers. So. Yeah, I've been watching NASCAR since I was about probably 8 or 10. I guess we had our favorite drivers in the battles about the drivers on the bus. So yeah.
my last thing I'd say about NASCAR is once you've experienced a race, you look at NASCAR completely different because like to physically feel the horsepower off of those engines are amazing. The NASCAR. So. Only thing I've ever seen that's even close to the power that a NASCAR track pump.
Yeah, I've never actually been to a race yet. Yeah, so
yeah. It's insane.
And that is loud as shit, Rawls.
What is it? Oh, yeah.
Rawls up here sharpening his knife. It's
You're gonna be close to Talladega, right, Micah?
Talladega, yeah, and Daytona also. Well, Daytona's at the southern end of Florida, but I'll be partially closer to Talladega. Yeah.
Are you gonna go? You should go. Definitely. I'll go down to Florida and I'll go with you.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I want to go to Talladega and I want to go to Bristol too when they open because it's this little short track. It's called the Sugar Bowl. It holds like 100-some thousand people on this little tiny track. It's absolute chaos. Yeah. So, yeah, the super speedways are like 2.5 mile track. Imagine it's 2.5 miles around, and just 200 miles an hour. It's pretty crazy. So, outstanding. Well, we're going to bust over to the far reaches word of the week. I was struggling to find a word, and there's so many that blast through my head every day. And a buddy of mine sent me a Wikipedia page of Navy terms. We were in the Navy together, and he's been cracking up about some of the stuff I said. So he sent me this whole, it's freaking pages and pages of Navy terms. And some of them I'd forgotten, like, and I won't talk about the word of the week yet, but like, for like the slang, for example, like you call a mop bucket that's got wheels, it's called a Cadillac. And I totally forgot that, but that's like, hey, go get that Cadillac and swab that. Totally spaced that. And so I got to looking through that, and it reminded me of a simple word I think we probably all heard, but I don't know how much we used it. And that's boondockers is my far reaches word of the week. Boondockers. Anybody know what that is?
Some people who live out in the middle of nowhere.
It's one option. Yeah.
Rockians. Or rockers. I don't know what they're called.
But then it's got the guys that are in the comic strip. Boondockers too.
I don't know. I'm not sure which comics you're talking about. There's a movie, Boondock Saints. It's close. Yeah. Rawls, any guesses? You're over there ciphering pretty hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Joel's got a little, it has to do with a remote dock, but it also has to do with the people that inhabit that dock and potentially the time. I think it has to maybe do with the time of day. I don't know if that's correct or not. When people talk about down at the boondocks, but I don't know. I think it has to do with a remote docking location, though.
Well, in this case, boondockers are a pair of boots you get issued when you get in the military. They're steel-toed, black, about I don't know, 6 or 8 inch top, but they're called boondockers as your boots. But
these are your boondockers. These are your friends.
Yeah. But I've also, definitely heard about out in the boondocks, like middle of nowhere. That's that. But boondockers and Navy term is your pair of boots.
Okay.
So get your boondockers or shine your boondockers. It's your boots. Yeah.
These little kids bothering me.
Well, don't you know his parents? Come on.
I think he's bullying you.
Yeah.
No to bullies.
Oh.
Hey, go talk to Jess.
So we had some great feedback and listener responses from our conversation that Joel started about Antelope and such. And so I thought we'd share some of that, and we've had some good conversation come out of that, and probably influence our next movie of the week. So so as we mentioned during that time, we was with the college with a person from Antelope who promptly was texting and lighting up my phone when she listens to the podcast. She was swearing at Joel a little bit and this and that, and then ultimately she says, like, well, yeah, I guess he's not actually wrong. It is kind of shitty now, but they didn't help it. And so so she said that. We had another one was BC from Central Oregon said, and this is how he put it, this is pretty funny, quote unquote, far reaches thinks Antelope is a shithole. That was funny shit, unquote. So we just all into far reaches. And so from that part of the world, we went to college with them as well. But out of all this conversation, and there were several other people too that sent random messages, the first person, Amy, who called us out and was giving you the hell, she actually wants to come on next time, and she wants the movie, to be a Wild Country for next time, and she wants to come on and talk about it because she lived it. And I thought, shit, woman, if you're crazy enough to do that, I think we'd be open to that. But I wanted to run it past the gang. Of course, we're going to do it on when we're talking live. But yeah, so she wants us to do Wild Country for the next movie, and she wants to come on and talk about it and how it impacted their life and where they grew up. So I think it's a unique opportunity to have somebody who actually mostly lived through it and give us some hell for it. So I think, what are you guys thinking? You can tell no. I mean, I'm all for it either way. So
my first response is she is not the boss of us.
Very true. Yeah, you're not the boss of me. So,
but in my best interest, I am more than excited and thrilled that she'll be coming on and presenting her.
More than excited and thrilled. Jesus, you can't even say that with a straight face. No. Yeah.
No, I'm excited. That'll be fun.
Yeah. What do you think, Rawls and Joel?
Does she have any other family members that want to join her?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Which could get interesting as well. Yeah. So, Joel, you up for that?
Yeah, just as long as she's not, cut into the profits of the episode.
No, she might actually increase them. So, yeah, and I told her, she had to pay us to come on anyway.
Yeah, she doesn't get a share of it.
No, not at all. Of course not. It's just her privilege to come on and speak with us, really. We're kind of doing her a favor. So, really, you kind of feel, those people that are kind of special, you feel for them. You kind of reach out, make it their special day. So, I think it's going to be good for her. Yeah. So, I think I'm going to request so that she wears her red pants. I think that's only fair. So.
Oh,
Must be an inside joke.
Yeah.
Sorry, Joel. There's going to be a lot.
Yeah. Full disclosure, she was a previous roommate of us, a couple of us, and I'll tell the red pants quick.
You know what we'll do with this guest? We should all commit. The proceeds from our podcast next week will be directed to improving the town school of Antelope.
The Antelope Township Fund. Yeah. It'll
Probably double the quality of that town, huh?
Cost us more in postage than what we're going to be able to send. But yeah, I would be all for that as well. So yeah, I think that'll be great. We can get that watched and caught back up, and then we'll get a time scheduled when we can all get together and enjoy that. We had some other listener mail too, and I thought I'd give a shout out to Kristen at the Ag Health Labs, and she's also the bookkeeper there at Scion Livestock Solutions in the office. Turns out Kristen's a big fan of ours for some damn reason. Apparently,
Ag Health Lab. Where at?
They're up in Washington.
Sunny.
I think so. Yeah, my friend John Davis called in this afternoon to tell me all about it and said that the gals in the office, especially Kristen, he got them listening to the podcast and they really like it. So I said we'll give you a little. Shout out there at Ag Health Labs, and Scion Livestock Solutions is one of the companies that John has. So they enjoy listening to us and find it, for some reason, entertaining. So I thought, I got to say howdy. So we appreciate them listening, and any requests they might have, just let us know, and we'll try to do our best to probably ignore them or screw it up totally. So, yeah, it was a good week for listener interactions, I guess I'd say. So, that was good to hear. But let's see.
Are you able to look at numbers on how many people are foolish enough to listen to us?
Yeah, I've not done it in a while, but I can. Yeah.
I was just curious that how many people are as twisted as we are.
So. Yeah, we're gaining subscriptions on YouTube as well. Last time I looked, I don't remember how many we were, but it was up from the previous time. And then, we get demographics too on the podcast stuff. And I know we are actually, I was surprised to find out that the majority of our listeners are female, believe it or not. Yeah. So, and from random parts of the world also. So I thought that was interesting, but I'll try to get some of those dems for us next time. We can talk them over and see if we can guess who's where. Yeah. But
Joel, don't shave the beard.
Yeah. Keep it running, man, because I think we were 65 or 70% of our listenership is female. So, I guess they're cracking the code because we're pretty complex, So,
yeah, I mean, That's good, because I think podcasts are like a medium dominated by men, mostly male listeners. So I think maybe we could get advertising for being one of the few.
Absolutely, yeah. I would
podcast directed at the female audience.
I still think we have that whole poor white guy thing maybe pulling us down a bit.
There could be that too, yeah. So maybe next week when we have our special guest, Amy, that might increase some of the more diversity too. So yeah.
I want to know what percentage of the group is Irish.
I don't know if I can tease that out, but it's probably high Celtic influence, I'm going to guess. Yeah. But there was one listener in Sierra Leone, so I kind of guessed who that was. Yeah.
Christopher.
I thought that was pretty cool. So a good shout out there to our good friend, Pendletonian, who's doing his time in Sierra Leone. So
are people supposed to know he's there? Did you just blow his cover by looking at his IP address?
I didn't see. We said Christopher. It could be anybody. Yeah. Yeah, now he gets transferred to Guam or something because of us. Yeah, I'd feel bad.
Yeah, and we're going to get shut down for sure.
What's that?
We're going to get shut down for sure.
Most likely, yeah. So we're going to live on the edge as long as we can. Yeah. So, so let's kick into what we learned if everybody's still awake. Richard, you want to kick it off? Richard just went bye-bye as soon as I said you want to kick it off. I guess that's a definitive no. Yeah, so let's get back to Joel. Joel, what the hell have you learned?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go into much detail on it to put people to sleep, but so I've been doing self-study for work, trying to learn about digital banking topics. So I've been doing a lot of online training about cloud technology and everything that's related to that. So I got a certificate on Google Cloud Platform. I don't know what it's probably not worth anything, but
it is. Did you learn something?
I'm Google certified.
Outstanding.
Well, I mean, you learn like high level, like the differences between or the basics of, infrastructure as a service versus platform as a service versus application, cloud stuff, agile technology, big data, Internet of Things.
Yeah.
So I've been, after we get past 6 or 7 o'clock on Eastern time zone, I just spend a couple hours doing online training every day.
Outstanding. Yeah, I was that through LinkedIn platform or just through Google? I've done it quite a bit on LinkedIn. I found that quite interesting.
So I haven't looked at LinkedIn training yet. It's on my list, but I'm going through our internal stuff. So
outstanding. Yeah.
We partnered with Google and they put a tailored, it's probably not really tailored. They probably tailor it the same way for every other firm, but supposedly tailored for our firm. And then I can take it on our learning management system. And then the other stuff is we have a bigger database of training courses that we have access to that are developed externally. So I've been doing those.
Outstanding. Mr. Bigsby, care to share anything you might have learned? Did not be nothing major. Again, we always overthink this, I think,
Yeah. Old good friend stopped by, or actually contacted me. Said he was going to be up for the 4th. Guy that was up here and he's out of the area now, but he came back for the 4th with some of his family members that are here. And he made time out of his stay to contact us, and we fortunately were in between a couple of high points that I'm hanging, and so we sat down, had a good dinner and barbecued and relaxed and enjoyed the view up here. And I learned that amidst all the chaos, I still have to take time to enjoy life. So
what's it all for if you don't get a little bit. Yeah.
And a good, big, thick, strong Crown Royal still makes me feel like shit in the morning. So.
You always got to make sure that, maybe it's just last time. Yeah. So.
Now I have to remind myself that I'm old.
Yeah. The older we get, the better we were. Yeah. No.
Yeah, the music, the violin not as.
Yeah, the music's
Was
beautiful.
that the guy that was there the last time you were trying to get on the podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah. We heard Rawls was trying to get on. The internet was all bugged up. And we heard like a random story about 20 seconds about trying to close a gate, and we were all cracking up like, who the hell's here? We should hit record. So it was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's hard to say what we were talking about.
Stop it there. Yeah. So
yeah.
Richard, what have you learned?
I would say that my biggest learning thing was that I finally bit the bullet and got the Hulu, Disney, ESPN thing.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Yeah.
So now, I'm back to learning and watching Food Channel 24/7, which is time consuming. So
watching Hamilton or something.
Doing anything 24/7 is going to be time consuming. Yeah.
No. I would watch those things, but really all I like to watch is Chopped and Beat Bobby Flay. So
two of my favorites.
Yeah. And MASH. So I, for most of my lifetime, have been falling asleep to MASH on the TV, and it's like white noise to me. And Hulu has every MASH, so I think I'm now starting on the 5th time going through every season and every episode.
So, do you instantly fall asleep when you turn MASH on? Like you have to watch it in the middle of the day?
Yep. So, yep. Oh, and another cool thing, speaking about retro stuff, I watched the first Perry Mason from Showtime, HBO, I don't know.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Not
Pretty
bad.
cool.
Yeah, I'm a couple episodes in. I've missed the last week's number 3, but it's an interesting perspective. So not bad. Cool. What have I learned? I learned it's pretty cool when good friends call you out of the blue and say, "Hey, a-hole, we're coming to visit," and say howdy and say goodbye. And it's kind of fun, just for random things like that. And even though I was up to my eyeballs and work and packing and moving and thinking about all kinds of stuff, it was good to just shut that down for a couple of days and just hang out and relax and enjoy good friendship. So that was probably one of the best things I learned. Again, is that reminder, kind of like Rawls was saying, like, you just gotta stop, and you're gonna be okay. You'll still be on track. So that was pretty cool. So I liked it. And we've sort of got out of order this week just because we've been skipping around a little bit, trying to make sure we get everything caught. So the last thing we have, and I started giggling after last time, we said, all right, and the final part of the week, and we went another hour, but we're going to try to keep it under control. But we'll finish up with the best thing of the week, which is really closely tied to usually what we learned in our weekly update. But I really like to try to end on a happy note and something to kick us off into the rest of our week with. So, Richard, you got best thing of the week?
Yeah. People are going to hate me for this, but I really enjoyed the president going to Mount Rushmore and giving a 4th of July speech. And it could have been a Democrat, it could have been Republican. It's not because it was Trump. I just thought it was a significant and important place to be in this place and time.
That's a great point. I like that. Yeah.
So, and the speech didn't mean anything to me. It's just the symbolism of it. And I think of all the states that need a little good love and finally have a governor that is worthy of them. South Dakota has probably, I was talking to my parents about this, of any state, rural state in the United States, South Dakota probably understands diversity and violence most better than probably a lot of major cities. So I think that got missed in the media reports, but a lot of major racial stuff and questions about individual diversity and that kind of stuff, a lot of those big discussions have gone down in South Dakota, and we forget about that. And that is a state that goes on and stays resilient and stays independent. And I just thought everything that's going on and the symbolism of Mount Rushmore and Crazy Horse just off to the side, and just the whole culture of Rapid City, what a way to showcase America in this time. So,
and not to mention, the governor is a total smoke show too. How could you not say that? Yeah. So I think also the way they've approached all this recent few months of our Corona chaos, if you will, has been impressive, and I don't think they've been talked about enough in that regard either. But that's an interesting point, Richard. I really appreciate that. So, Mr. Bigsby, before you pass out on us, best thing of the week?
Yeah, I'll kind of piggyback off of what Richard had to say and what little bit of news that I have caught in the last 10 days. But I think it's important that we preserve our history, and that's what all the monuments and statues, whether they're good or bad for one ethnicity or not, it's history, and we learn from it. We don't make the same mistakes, and I feel like we're eradicating a lot of that way too much. And when I found out that Trump signed them things president signed, executive order on making it criminal to deface or destroy those. I was really glad to see that, because it is something that I thought about a few times, and quite frankly, watching what these assholes are doing to our history, it pisses me off, and I was glad to see that's something that it isn't the best of the week necessarily, but it's something that's important for America. And I think at the end of the day, we kind of forget this day and age that we are all Americans. I don't care what, I don't care what color you are or what background you come from. We stand for the same flag, and that's whether you disagree or agree with some of what Trump does. I think that there is kind of that resolute image that he wants the Americans to kind of keep and uphold. So
yeah, I think so. We're Americans first, and to jump in on what you said a little bit too is, I don't mind people disagreeing with the history and learning from it and pointing to it. I do have a problem when you try to tear it down. I think more importantly, like, if you want to make a statement, you put up your own statue of whatever you think. I believe, like, if you build, don't burn. And so I think create something, don't destroy it. And then, that makes your voice more heard. And so I don't mind you protesting what we did. We're not perfect. There's no doubt about that. I think we're probably one of the better nations ever, as far as you look about where we've come from and what we are now. But I totally agree. So we don't get too rabbit hole, but I just wanted to point that out. Like, I'd rather see somebody build than burn. So
I want to see the evolution of the protest where they start burning money of their own that has symbols that they do not, like Andrew Jackson, Jefferson, all those terrible. I think as a protest, you should gather all the cash money you have and burn it. And protest. So I really hope to see that take over the United States here in the next couple of weeks.
Let's fan those flames.
Just clean out that money supply of
Isn't
all.
That where you put your money where your mouth is? That's really what that would be. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to burning all this stuff, all this money next week and or the next couple of weeks. And really,
if you want, you can send it to me and I'll burn it at a later date. And
for a good shipping and handling plus small service fee.
Small service fee, absolutely. Yeah. Large fee. So
but it'll only take the Eisenhower.
Only Ben. Eisenhower's. Yeah, I'll take some bennies too. Yeah,
you got to pay in straight Eisenhower dimes because Kennedy's on the 50-cent piece, so 50-cent pieces are all right. So yeah.
Joel, what would you like to add to this brilliant point of our conversation? Best thing.
I didn't get a chance to watch the speech. I wanted to. keep meaning to go back and do it. But I would agree with Richard and Rawley on that. But for personally, so my own 4th of July, that was pretty fun because like I hadn't had a 4th of July in Pendleton in probably 20 years.
Oh yeah.
So it's definitely a different experience than doing it in New York City, where I don't know if like New York City is more focused on like the party more than the meaning of it, I guess. And not that I like sat down and really appreciated the meaning of it, but I guess it was there.
Yeah.
It was just better, I guess, or different. I don't know.
Sometimes different's better. Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that you realize there's that difference and you appreciate it no matter what it is, I think it's pretty cool. So my best thing of the week is going to be kind of cheesy, but it's been getting a chance to do this podcast with you guys again. So I can't tell you how much I always appreciate just getting to see everybody for one, and then talking, and then seeing where our snake trails lead us and just how everybody's doing. So and a lot of times it's my highlight, but I think this week in particular, it seems to be much more impactful to me, and I'm just much more appreciative of the fact that I get to sit down and chat with you a-holes and sort of see where everybody's going. That's the best thing for me. So love you guys so much. I promised myself I wouldn't cry.
What's going on, man? Are you okay?
I think a menopause. Yeah.
We'll still be able to do it when you get to Gainesville.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I don't know. Just every once in a while, I miss you bastards for some reason. So, but so yeah, next time our movie will be the what's it called? Wild Country. Yeah, that's on the Netflix, I believe. It's a 4 or 5 part series, so hopefully we can get all through that. We'll play it by ear as far as when everybody can get together. We'll have a special guest, Amy M from Central Oregon. Former college roommate and friend since then. So keep your input coming in. If you guys have some reader thoughts this week about our top 10 list or a movie we should do, or if you want to come on and talk shit to us face to face, by all means. Also, if you want any relationship advice, as Joel keeps offering, we'll certainly be up for that. Or maybe if you want to learn how to tie a different knot, we can go through some of those skills. Or if you have a survival question, shit, let's talk about that. If you want to talk about barbecue or smoking something, that's one of my favorite hobbies. So I'm sure we all have different things that we do randomly that some people probably just scratch their head and go, what in the hell is that person doing?
Well, our demographics put us basically in the same category as The View. So, I mean, we should be able to dispense relationship advice.
Absolutely. You're going to listen to it whether you like it or not. Yeah, I think you just broke Rawley right there, right in front of us. The man's just. So,
I mean, watch out, Joy and Whoopi. We're coming for you.
Who's who? I was just wondering, am I more Joey or more Whoopi? Yeah, I don't know. I think.
I don't know who's going to be the token. I guess Joel's the token. In our case, Republican or liberalish guy.
Yeah. So he's yeah. It's true.
We are actually the antipode of The View.
I'm the Megan McCain of the podcast.
I think you are. Yes. Yeah. Not the hottest one though. Yeah. So we are the.
Makes Rawley Raven. So I'm sorry about your dysfunctional sexual life.
What was that? Rawley's who?
Raven Simone.
Oh, I don't even know who all the people are on freaking.
This is Disney Channel gossip. He just got Disney. I guess he's going through the history.
Raven Simone. Look at Rawls. I can't wait till I see you next
sorry about your sexual confusion, but no, wait a minute. If it's the opposite, you're the most squared away sexual person on the planet.
There you go.
Oh,
yeah, so that's
opposite. Yeah. So
we're going to slunk you in the nose.
Squared away.
That's the first time it was ever thought of in that regard.
I was going to say, can your wife hear this from where she's at? Yeah. How quickly this went completely in the ditch. Yeah. Just fucking caught the wheel. Away we went through the fence. Yeah. Damn it, Richard.
So tell your older friends there's an alternative view. Like there is an alternative to Twitter that nobody goes to, but there is one.
There is one. Yeah. Nobody goes there. That's why it's an alternative. So sweet Lord Almighty. Okay. Well, on those multiple high points, I think we're going to wrap it up. Stay tuned. We'll let you know when the next one's coming out, and we'll be talking again about the. I have to keep looking it up because I can't remember the name of it. The Wild Country and
Wild.
And say again.
Wild.
Oh, that's right. It is
Too
Wild Country. Is it Too
Two
Wild?
wilds.
The Wild West. So yeah. Anyways, we thank everybody for listening. Thank you for your comments. We appreciate them all, good, bad, and ugly, just kind of like we are. So like and share and tell your friends, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much.